guys. I'm so glad you're here. This is Taming Divisive Devices, and I'm Kristi Green. And I wanted to first start off with why me? What gives me any authority to speak to you today on this topic? And first and foremost, I am also a parent. I have two middle school age children here at KIS. I can't even believe they were middle school age because they were just born a few days ago, it seems like. I'm also a KIS teacher, and the standards that I use to teach in the library are information literacy standards, which I couldn't think of a more critical period in time than 2018 to teach information literacy. And also, I'm a KIS librarian, so hopefully I've established a little bit of credibility with you today and would like to talk to you about some evidence and research. And why this topic? Because I could have chosen anything under the sun to speak to you about today, but I think this topic is really timely and relevant to modern living, and a topic that we're all maybe struggling with but not sharing out about. This topic I chose to help KIS parents because I have empathy, sympathy, and am living the struggle with you. This topic because I want to be a valuable resource for all of our patrons, and that includes the family as a whole. And then because all of these reasons add up to help our students succeed, which is the driving factor of why I come to work. So, I like to laugh, so here's a meme. The struggle is real. Food isn't allowed in the living room. His tablet isn't allowed in the kitchen. He beat the system. I quit. This kid is very clever. And the struggle is real, and I struggle with this in my own home, and I'm a media specialist. These memes were chosen for you today by my intern, Junha Lee, who's in grade 10. And I asked him to find some funny memes that represent technology and the struggle between how to balance it and a healthy life, and these were ones that my intern chose, not me. And he said, "This is real, Miss Green, how kids go play outside today. When my parents send me outside," he said, "I just take my phone outside and I do the same thing outside that I would be doing inside in my room." And I figure he's probably telling me the truth. And then he picked this one as well. He thought it was really funny. And we looked at it together for a little while. I know, it's like you go to the Maldives and this is what you do. You stare at the same phone that you're staring at in Seoul. But then Junha pointed out to me, "Oh, did you notice this kid's weight?" He said, "Oh, this is a really subtle cartoon." You know, it's also pointing out that technology could be contributing to a lot of different things, whether we recognize it or not. So the next question I wanted to answer is kind of how does this relate to KIS middle school in particular? So I did a little research on what kind of office referrals we have typically in our middle school right now, 2017 and 2018. And the majority of office referrals, if you broke them down by category, involve peer-to-peer conflict, disagreements between the students themselves. A small number of our office referrals deal with sleepy students who maybe are sleeping during school hours or can't stay awake. And then an even smaller number are sometimes we experience student-teacher conflicts. So the common denominator in all of that is student. So if we can do anything at all to address that factor of our office referrals, then we are in fact helping our students become more successful. A decline in office referrals would definitely be a measured success. And, here's a meme that Junha picked out. The man says, "Look, honey, I just got a new phone." It's actually an iPhone. "What a coincidence, I got a new boyfriend." 1 panel, 2 panel, 3 panel. "I'm sorry, what'd you say?" He didn't notice that he lost his girlfriend because he got the iPhone. So, what research shows us is that screen time is making tweens clueless on reading signals and cues that maybe are obvious to you and to me. An increase in screen time makes tweens less social and less able to read faces, and that's according to a study that was published and then written about in Newsweek in 2014. It says that screen time affects teens' ability to socialize, to talk to each other, and to relate in the real world. And so as we see a rise in screen time and a decrease in our ability to socialize, maybe they are connected. So research definitely says three things in particular. Screen time is on the rise. It's not an opinion, it's a measurable evidence. And furthermore, we know now that the age of your child does matter when it comes to screen time, and that's some new information. The American Academy of Pediatrics used to just recommend blanket screen time guidelines that didn't differentiate between the developmental stages of the child, but we're getting better at figuring this out. And so I'll show you today that the age of your child or the age of the children in your house actually has a large bearing on how you approach the issue of screen time. And then furthermore, the quality of screen time has begun to matter, because just as in the food pyramid, there are some screen times that are very low quality, very low value, and there's other screen time of better value. So these are the three things that I want to focus on next. Okay, so first I would like to prove that screen time is up by using this article from Education Week, October 25th of 2017. It says that since 2013, the amount of time that children in this study who are 8 years and younger spent engaging with a screen has tripled. So that's a pretty incredible rate over 5 years for the total amount of screen time in that demographic to have tripled. And we're not really sure the entire effect that has on children, because it's really unethical to give a baby a smartphone and force it to watch the screen for hours at a time. So it's really a difficult thing to study. But I don't want to just point the finger of blame at our families or our parents or households. Schools actually are contributing to the increase of screen time. So some of that tripling of screen time in that demographic may lie on the shoulders of teachers just like me. I curate a lot of digital resources and teach children how to use them as a living, like all day long, show kids how to access information using a screen. So I have a part in this, and my colleagues do as well. Class. So this is in a journal for teachers, encouraging educators to incorporate more streaming video into their lessons. And as a KIS parent, I can tell you that many of my children's lessons are from the flipped classroom model. And so at night, in my household, I have 2 separate homework stations going on and 2 kids who are at different places watching these flipped classroom videos. And I see that they're actually taking on a lot of new information in the home at night after they've served their 8 hours of school time. And so I really didn't want this talk to be about laying the blame solely at the feet of parents. And this is not a parenting issue as much as it is a societal issue, of which schools are a large part. So we need to think about that, both as parents and as teachers. It's super hard for me to ground my children using technology, because I might threaten their grade point average if I take away their laptop or tablet. And so that means technology is off the table for a large part of my disciplinary action. It's become something that they can't live without. So again, working on proving that screen time is up and that there may be a lot of different factors. Parents also admittedly do contribute to the increase in screen time. So this is from a brand new book by Anya Kametz, and it's published at the end of 2017. It's called The Art of Screen Time, and I've ordered it for this library, but it isn't here yet. But an excerpt from that book says, a huge pitfall that comes up all the time is that parents have their own compulsive relationships with their devices, especially working parents. So a big problem that we're having with parenting and technology is role modeling. And when we find it hard to live without our device, then it's very hard for us to not be hypocrites and to tell our children, well, I can do this, but you shouldn't. And so this is a problem, and we're all working together to find the solution, but admitting where we can make improvements is part of that. So age matters. Remember I told you screen time is on the rise, and we can prove that with evidence. And then I told you that the age of the child actually makes a big difference into how you handle technology limits in your home. So this is an article from Newsweek called "Smartphones and Toddlers Not So Smart." For a long time, educators and parents have thought that screen time can be educational, therefore it's okay. And in this study, there have been significant speech delays found that correlate to the amount of minutes or hours that children in the 0 to 18 month category spend watching screens. So that's going to become an important factor when we talk about the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations for screen time for that age group, 0 to 18 months. So basically, the idea is that screen time is replacing language enriching activities of the past. And that is maybe the explanation for the delay in speech. And it's worth looking into because speech acquisition, we know, is the foundation for early learning in early childhood. So a child's ability to communicate when he enters school affects every aspect of learning. So we really watch speech acquisition carefully, and anything that thwarts that may be alarming to teachers and parents and pediatricians. Okay, so screen time, mental health menace or scapegoat? Here's the thing, we are talking about how important age of the child is, and 0 to 18 months, no screen time may be a good guideline, but as we get older, we have found that teens who have 0 amount of screen time actually have a higher rate of unhappiness than their peers who logged in at least a few hours a week. So this is a phenomenon that teens are really well aware of. They'll tell you what FOMO is. FOMO is their acronym for fear of missing out. And so their screen connects them to one another in a way that maybe people of my generation can't understand. So when we as parents take away all screen time, 100%, we are actually putting them at risk for a little bit of a withdrawal, a depression, and that FOMO feeling that is very anxious. It's anxiety ridden for a teenager to think, oh, all of my friends are doing this and I will miss out because my mom took my tablet or my phone. So apparently, when I look at all this and try to think, well, what does it mean when at this age range, no screen time is a good guideline, but at this age range, no screen time is a death sentence to them. So apparently there is a sweet spot that we are looking for in our parenting and in our educating, and it may change as the development of the child changes. And that makes it really hard because we all like things in black and white, right? Do this and this will happen, but maybe not that easy. So, continuing from that CNN Wire report, this was very interesting to me that 13% of 8th to 10th graders, this is the majority of the students that I teach, who spend 1 to 2 hours a week on screens, reported that they were not happy people overall. And that was an alarming number, and I wish I had stopped reading that, because then the next fact that I came to in the study was that as the hours increased, kids who reported in the 10 to 19 hours a week range, 18% of them reported that they were not happy people. And then 40 hours or more per week, 24% of those 8th to 10th graders said, I'm not a happy person. So I thought it was bad when I got to the 1 to 2 hours a week. Now, not to be dismal or to make this a presentation that was just a downer, the good news is as kids are aging, more of them are reporting happiness that doesn't seem to be related to their screen time. And so it could be that all of the pitfalls and anxieties of being a teenager are also showing up in this unhappiness. So a correlation is not a causation, right? So the good news is we we may not have an epidemic of mental health issues on our hands. We may just have a bunch of teenagers. It smells like teen spirit, right? So, quality counts. So we've talked about the amount of screen time increasing over the years. We've talked about the age of your child being a determining factor in setting screen limits, but we haven't yet talked about quality of screen time. So quality counts, it turns out the American Academy of Pediatrics in 2016 published a study with a very catchy headline, "We were wrong about limiting children's screen time." First of all, to get a group of doctors to say we were wrong is kind of shocking and would make anyone read the article. But it's maybe they're not saying they're wrong in the way that we think. They're not saying that they were wrong in setting the children's limits. What they were saying is that they didn't go in depth enough, and that one-size-fits-all recommendation of the past is obsolete now. And so the new American Academy of Pediatric guidelines say that in the 0 to 18 month range, no screen time for that demographic is their recommendation, with the exception of some high-quality apps, Skype and FaceTime, with your family. If your grandparents live maybe in Tennessee on the other side of the planet, and you're letting your 0 to 18-month-old child do Skype or FaceTime with grandma, that is considered high-quality screen time, and certainly within the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines. So they're not saying no screen time at all, but rather a limited amount of high-quality screen time for the 0 to 18-month demographic. And then for 18 to 24-month-old children, high-quality programs and apps up to 1 hour a day. So and these, you'll notice, they don't specify just those 2 apps that involve seeing human faces talking. So this would be like allowing them to watch educational programs on YouTube, nursery rhymes and songs, alphabet, counting, those kind of things. And then 24 months and up, their guidelines are now high-quality programs, apps, age-appropriate time limits, because we've talked about the sweet spot and how it moves as we grow up, and then co-watching or co-playing. So a thing that can turn a low-quality screen time into high quality is you. So if your child is crazy about Minecraft, but you're worried about how long he stares like a zombie at the screen, play Minecraft together. And that changes the quality of the screen time. So the extra benefit is the screen time just turned into quality time with the mom or dad. So if we co-watch or co-play, we can change the quality all on our own. So I was really happy when I read that. I'm like, oh, this is something that I can do. I don't have to try to beat my child into submission and go through the withdrawals of, well, I missed a day of Minecraft. I just now have to learn to play Minecraft. Or find things that we like in common, right? So we could play for 30 minutes together, and then my child is getting something that she needs rather than just another lecture. Okay, so I love this. The American Academy of Pediatrics has developed a family media plan in 2017, and at the end of this presentation there's a QR code, and you can use the QR code to get access to the whole Google slide presentation. And within the Google slide presentation, this is hyperlinked. So if you click on this slide, it will take you to the website so that you can design your own family media plan. And it's very customizable, it's free, it's printable, and you can create it. It was best for me to create it with my child. So when you click on create your family media plan, you enter in your family name and your child's name and just choose his age. And it's not going to collect any other data about you, no credit cards or social security numbers. And you can, you'll notice that even though I created one for my own family, right here, it went back to the start page when I revisited, so I can change my family media plan as my children grow, or if it's not working for me, right? And you can answer questions with your child and select each domain and customize it. It also has a media time calculator. This was super interesting because it turns out people are really bad at judging how much time they spend online. And so if you just ask people, they give wildly different answers, even though we're all probably doing about the same thing. And so this media time calculator helps you actually figure out how much screen time you really get, because it may be a completely different number than the one that you thought that it was. A lot of things count as screen time that you may not consider, including your smartwatch. Okay, so I hope that you will enjoy the creating your family media plan. My children happen to span 2 different developmental levels. So my older daughter, who's in 8th grade, she wound up in the level that asks many questions about texting and telephoning while driving. And then Sydney, who's in the lower demographic, her questions, many of them were about finding that high quality programming to drive her to, and more questions appeared about co-play and co-watching on my part. So those were things that I really liked. Hopefully you will as well. Okay, and then I'll just summarize the best practices from that family media plan rather than walking you through the whole plan, which now you are prepared to do on your own if you wanted to. The domains from the plan are: establish screen-free zones in your home, establish some screen-free times in your life, have a device curfew for your child and everyone in the house. And the curfew can be sliding times depending on the age of the children. We know, and we've known for a long time, that flickering lights affect our ability to sleep. And so the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends a minimum of 1 hour before bedtime of a device curfew, so that you stop watching flickering lights, and it tells your brain that the sun has set and it is now time for your body to go into sleep mode. Choose and diversify your media. Yeah, we are getting much smarter now and figuring out that there's high quality programming and low quality programming. But we already knew that there was popcorn in the world. Popcorn is a great food, but maybe not necessarily nutritional. And then we knew that there was rice, something that's really packed with nutrition for you. So programming is the same way. There's popcorn and there's rice. And we're encouraging you to choose rice more. Balance online and offline life. Yeah, remember the meme that Junha chose where the kids had the suntan line of their devices on their chest? Putting the phone down to experience actual life instead of documenting it for your Instagram life is super important. So the screen time is a real detriment when it's taking away from exercising, being healthy, sleeping, eating good food, or building a relationship with your parents, with your mom and dad. Manners matter. As a parent, it's really important to not talk to your child while you're texting someone else, but role model that behavior and say, oh, excuse me, I have a work emergency. I have to answer this text, and then we'll get right back to where we were. Your child sees that, and they will emulate that. And if they see you using the phone while you're talking to someone else, they'll do the same thing. If you're bullying someone online, they might bully someone online and not even recognize that it's bullying. Digital citizenship. This is in large part my responsibility as a librarian, and the responsibility of teachers and parents to teach our students to be good digital citizens. There is citizenship in the real world. I'm a citizen of the real world, but when I go online, I'm a citizen in the online world. And so it's kind of like the Wild West there. There aren't a lot of rules at this point. And so it's up to us to be good digital citizens and to teach our students what that means. Safety first. This is not a talk about the dangers of the internet, because that ship has sailed. We know of the dangers of the internet. However, children get hit by cars in Korea nearly every day because they are looking at a screen and crossing the street. And so that is a way in which safety should be first. children should not cross the street while looking at a screen. Adults should not cross the street while looking at a screen. And then finally, sleep and exercise. Best practices: don't sacrifice sleep for technology, and don't allow your children to, and don't sacrifice exercise for technology, and don't allow your children to. So these are the best practices that we're all striving for. These are evidence-based. And then I have an extreme parenting challenge for you, because I know you're extreme. Everyone loves extreme parenting challenge. This came from Morning Edition, which is National Public Radio in America, which I listen to in the mornings in the whole house. We have it on the speakers in my living room because we try to incorporate high quality programming. They want to have something on in the house, so we're going to listen to National Public Radio. And I heard this, you'll see February 12th, 2018. A family finds a way to wean themselves from electronic devices, but it's not as extreme as you think. They call it a tech Shabbat. So around 5:30 on Friday nights, this family shuts down all the screens in the house, and they don't go back online until 5 o'clock on Saturday night. So it's an extreme challenge for them to figure out how to go without the technology, parents and children, for that 23-hour window. I wondered why it was 5:30 to 5, like they can't squeeze out that last 30 minutes. There's probably a reason. But that's extreme, and I recognize that it is, especially for working parents. However, if you're experiencing some of those problems that we talked about at the beginning, like peer-to-peer conflict, sleepiness during school, or student-teacher conflict, what if an extreme parenting challenge made a difference? What if you tried it and it made a difference? And they could still do their homework on Saturday night or Sunday all day or at night. So I have a technical degree, a master's degree in library science and information systems. So in technology, which is my field, we like to say that almost everything will work again if you simply unplug it, including your family. So maybe it will apply to your family too. Just unplug it and then plug it back in again and see if it works better, right? So thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that you found something valuable from our talk today. I have our concise bibliography for you, and the sources are available in print. And all of the sources for this talk were found through the KIS Secondary Library Research Databases, which are the same databases that I teach kids to use, your kids to use all day, every day. And there's the QR code to this Google slide presentation. And thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you.